In Demo 11, we're going to look at the topic of creating and modifying tables. Now I'm using the document that I used when we were doing tabs to create those nice columns of information. I'm going to use the same document to create a table of that information. Instead of just tabbing and creating tab positions, I'm going to actually create a table. Now when you go to insert a table, you have a table tab up here on the ribbons, and you have your table options here. And the first one over here is new. I want to insert a new table. I can actually create a table based upon, number of columns and number of rows. In this case, it's 4 columns and 5 rows. And when I hit that, notice I get 4 nicely even columns, and you can change the width of those, and 5 rows. So I can do a lot with this table that I just created. If I take the arrow, black arrow above, I can select the column. Off to the left, I can select the row. This four-headed arrow that appears, that's selecting the whole table. So when you get into a situation like this, where I'm going to say, for example, type name, if I hit the enter key, the return key, notice it just adds more space to that cell. What I'm in is called a cell. Actually, you move around by hitting the tab key, or by placing your cursor in a cell you want to activate. Once you've put data into a cell, you can now change its width, which would then make this cell bigger by nature. You can also increase it in size, make that one smaller. So cells can be, once we've placed some data information in them, we can move the cells and make them wider. Notice the ruler up here has it divided into 4 areas. So there is a way of creating a table. Once you've gotten information in, you can go back to your Home tab and center. It'll center all the data that's in that particular row. You can apply any of the things you can apply to text. So I can format the font and create any font that I want. For example, that font, and I want a color, dark blue, and I want it to be 12 point. Let's make it 16 point. Hit the OK. Notice that the row automatically increased in size to compensate for that name. So when I type something over here, it follows the same format, since I've applied it to the whole row. Now, I'm going to get rid of this table, and we're actually going to create a table using the data that's already there. So we're going to take this text and convert it into a table. So I've highlighted the whole table. Go to Tables, Table Layout, and I want to delete the table. Table is gone. Now, like I said, I want to take all of this information. So I'm going to select all of this data about the bridges, including the title for each column right there. So I want to change this text into a table. Remember, I already have tabs, so that's a convenient thing, because remember, tables are based upon tabs. So I go to my table ribbon. Over here under New, there is a Convert Text to Table. It says, okay, we have 4 columns. It automatically figured out we had 4 columns. We have 20 rows, and the separator is a tab. So we hit OK. Notice it automatically separated all of that information into the rows that were needed. So notice as we change the different columns, gotta be careful how much movement we make. Now with tables, it really doesn't matter as much that there is. See, I'm just moving up here on the horizontal. So moving that table column. Doesn't matter that there's text wrapping going on because it doesn't wrap to the next line. It just wraps inside the cell that the words are in. So this is much nicer that way. Go back to home, hit bold, hit center. Now, what if I wanted to add this title into my table? So I'm going to select the top row, go to table layout, and say I want to put in a row above and another row above. So I want 2 rows above, and I'm going to put this title into these 4 cells. But before I do that, I'm going to merge the cells into one. So that's what this is, merge. So notice the 4 cells became 1 cell. Then I select my text, do a cut, which is Apple button X, go down to my cell that's at the top. Notice it's centered automatically, so merge does a merge and center, and do a paste. And then I'm going to say match destination format so that it will center it. And it is bold automatically because the cells that are above are bold. So now I don't really need that second one, so I'm going to go in and say delete that row. Grab that again, go back to home, create a simple style on this, just a headline style, reduce its size a bit so that it fits, and there we have my table. There are other things you can do with tables as well. You can always go in to tables, table layout, and change the margins. You can actually change the direction of your text. For example, in this particular case, I can make my text rotate 90 degrees. So it looks like that. Or rotate 270 degrees. Where can I put it? Notice my alignment, I can center it right in the middle. Go back to my horizontal rotation there. If I wanted to, I can make this actually smaller, not as tall, but it'll work for the others. So you can play around with these columns and these rows in your table. You can even, again, shading is automatically there for you if you want to shade, or if you want to apply a table style. So here are the table styles which may work for this particular setup. Let's take this light list accent 5 and see what happens when I apply that. So this is what I get. Notice line colors change. This first row changes its look. Nice clean look. So you can play with different styles of that for these tables. Even more down here. But you want to make it appropriate for the table that you're working with. Let's apply this one. See what it looks like. Click away, and so there's a different look. So the lines are white, and notice this text is not as easily seen So you may want to change that text to a white font, since it would be easier to see that in the dark. Center it. So when you apply the table styles, it's going to affect how text lines up, even though you may have done it differently before. So there's a little introduction to tables and what you can do with tables.